What's going on, everybody? Today I want to go over some comps to try out in PBE. It's not going to be a comprehensive list, but if you are on the set 9.5 train and you're on the PBE server and you're like, what should I play? I played a bunch of stuff. We're going to go over 10 comps that I think you should be trying in set 9.5 right now. So those comps are going to be Challengers, Shurima, Noxus, Vanquishers, Sorcerers, Karma Reroll, Bastion, Silco, and Aphelios, Demacia, Naafiri Reroll, and Quinn Reroll. So let's just get right into it. So let's start off with Challengers first. I know we've been playing Challengers a lot on the live server, but on PBE, they are very good too. So in case you didn't know, they replaced Yasuo with Fiora, and they replaced Kalista with Naafiri. So Fiora is an incredible unit. And honestly, she doesn't really use the Challenger trait that well. You mainly play Challenger to get a secondary carry in Kai'Sa. But because Fiora is an absolute monster, you pretty much need to be playing this comp. By the way, some of y'all may have noticed there are Radiant items for Demacia, and they're always going to be the same now for each unit, but they're changing this during a couple of patches. So before, at the start of PBE, Fiora got a Radiant Bloodthirster, now she gets a Radiant Sterix Gauge. They might change it even more later on, so we'll have to see, but I'll definitely keep you updated on that if something does happen. So the core of the comp is going to be 4 Challengers, 3 Demacia, and later on you could get in Aatrox for just some legendary boosters, because it also gives you Darken and Juggernaut and Slayer actually. So Aatrox actually benefits a ton during this comp. So the new units that we have in this comp is Naafiri, Fiora, and Quinn. So Quinn and Jarvan give Demacia to Fiora. Fiora definitely needs that Radiant item, and then she pops up with the BT Titans. You know how BT Titans was the default bruiser combo of last set, so Fiora is going to be one of those good holders for that now. Many other items work on her. You could build stuff like Hand of Justice, Infinity Edge, but just make sure you have some balance of like damage and healing, and I think you're going to be fine. Kai'Sa, same items as before. Quinn just really there for a trait bot, but Quinn's a pretty good support unit because she increases damage dealt to certain units, and then yeah, everyone else is just to buff up Fiora, Heimerdinger for support, Aatrox for late game insurance, and that's pretty much going to be it for the comp. If you want to check out the full like list of everything, including like the write-ups and stuff like that, head on over to the website bunnymuffins.lol/PBE to get the latest PBE comps. We'll probably update this maybe once more, I'm not really too sure, but definitely once set 9.5 releases on the September 13th, we're going to be going full swing into the set. Next comp we have is Shurima. We've changed Shurima a bunch. So instead of being, I believe it was 3, 5, 7, 9 before, for the trait break points, it's going to be a 2, 4, 6, 9. I am always forgetting this whenever I'm playing PBE. I play Azir randomly because I just hit him for no reason. And then I'm holding a Shurima on my bench because I'm like, oh, I need one more to activate the 3 Shurima trait. It's 2 now, so it takes some time to get used to it. So the set does feel like quite different than it does before because they did this with a bunch of other traits too. So just because something existed before doesn't mean it's going to exist in this current set. So just keep that in mind as your plan. But yeah, they changed it. It's 2, 4, 6, 9 now. This is the first of its kind. No one's ever been 2, 4, 6, 9 before. But right now, the core of the Shurima trait is either going for 6 Shurima or 9 Shurima. 9's a little hard to hit. You need a lot of +1. So if you're single, that's kind of hard to do sometimes. But if you are able to hit 9, it's obviously going to be really powerful. But most games, just 6 Shurima, you're going to be happy with that most of the time. You get to use the new item on Azir, which is Nashor's Tooth. This item was pretty much like hand-picked for Azir. He casts his ability a lot, and he likes attack speed, so having Rageblade, Nashor's Tooth, plus another item, it could be like Jeweled Gauntlet, it could be like a Static Shiv to get him like going off really quickly. Any of these are going to work great on Azir. After that, you're just going to play as many Shurima units as possible. That's going to be Cassante, Nasus, Cassiopeia, Talia, Naafiri, and then add in some other units such as Jarvan and Warwick to give you Juggernaut and Strategist. Jarvan's just always going to be a good unit whenever you can play him with any Strategist build. And yeah, Juggernaut so that Nasus isn't a complete piece of paper. But the good part about this change is that if you do get a +1 Shurima, it's decent. It's not incredibly game breaking, so you're not as reliant on the +1 before. But if you get a lot of them, going for 9 is going to be really fun and get you a really powerful team. Let's move on into the next comp, which is going to be Noxus Reroll. So Noxus is kind of the same, not really. There are so many Noxus carries right now. So who did they take out? Who did they put in? Well, first of all, Noxus is a 3-5-7-9 instead of a 3-6-9. And they took out Kled for Mordekaiser. What this means is you now have 3 different carry options. 4 if you have a spatula. You could like Noxus Spat Azir, and then 5 item holders if you want to put tank items on Scion. So there are going to be weird situations where Noxus Reroll is going to be like super duper powerful. So first of all, because of the item changes, no more support items. The old Noxus comp, they loved having support items and they only cared about offensive items on both Katarina and Darius. So just from that change, I think this comp got a lot better because you have 3 damage dealing item holders that you could kind of put items on. So that means instead of having 2 fully equipped damage dealers plus maybe like 2 support items, you now get 2 fully equipped damage dealers and an almost fully equipped 3rd damage dealer as well, which is going to be really powerful, especially on certain portals which give extra items. So expect this comp to be pretty good in like Scuttle Puddle, maybe Shurima Bazaar, Orange Forge or whatever it's called. Anything that gives a lot of items, this comp is going to be super deadly. They also got a lot of hand-picked items for the build. So Darius uses Sterix Gauge so well. It's pretty much like an item hand-pick for him, similar to how Nashor's Tooth is hand-picked for Azir. This Sterix Gauge thing is hand-picked for Darius. After that, Mordekaiser, he can use like the items we have listed here, Titans, JG, and Hand of Justice, but he could also use the new items such as like Night Harvester because he's in the front and he's like an AP damage dealer. But this comp definitely should be fun. As you're slow rolling for Katarina and Darius on level 7, you oftentimes will hit a Mordekaiser 2-star eventually. So getting this comp fully started up is relatively easy apart from the Scion. That's really the only challenge, but you don't need a 2-star Scion. That 1-star Scion's good enough to win a lot of games. Next build up we have is Vanquishers. Vanquishers is the new Deadeye. So Vanquishers is kind of just like a AD trait. So you're going to have Xayah and Nyla as your main carries. And then this comp is paired with 6 Ionia. There are many different versions of this build, but this is like a fun comp to try. So instead of doing Ionia Challenger as we had in the past, Ionia Vanquisher is going to be the new one. I actually kind of like this change a lot because it gives a fresh new perspective on Ionia, and it also makes it so that Kai'Sa, a unit that isn't an Ionia, isn't the main carry of the Ionia comp. We finally have like an Ionia doing it in Xayah. The new Kai'Sa is going to be Nyla. Nyla is actually incredibly good too, and I call her the new Kai'Sa because she's a Vanquisher, but she's not an Ionia, and she does belong in the comp, and she's a 4-cost, and you itemize her, so that's what she's got going for her. Nyla is one of the best holders of Rapid Fire Cannon. So what I like about this set is that there are a lot more users of Rapid Fire Cannon. I don't know why they forgot about Rapid Fire Cannon holders last set. I made like an item guide for it, and like literally the only one was like pretty much Viego. Not too many other champions in the last set kind of use RFC, but this set there are a couple more now, so if you ever get scope weapons, if you ever get RFC, too many bows, you do have some options to play around certain units, so that's going to be pretty fun in my opinion. But the Ionia comp is pretty much just 6 Ionia. You have the Shen, the Jhin, the Xayah, the Karma, the Ahri, and the Set. And then you add in Taric and Darius if you want more tankiness. You could add in other units as well. It doesn't have to be those two. You could also add in a random legendary instead of Taric, such as a Heimerdinger, for example. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to add is Darius is a Vanquisher. So that's kind of why he looks a little goofy in the build, but he does belong. So your 4 Vanquishers are going to be Xayah, Jhin, Nyla, and Darius. And Darius is also a Juggernaut, so it's kind of good for set. But yeah, overall, pretty solid comp. Similar flavor or similar playstyle to last set's Ionia, but it's a new twist. So it's kind of like a new ice cream flavor that we unlocked. Next up we have is Sorcerers. So in Sorcerers, we replaced Lux with Silco. And honestly, the comp is a lot weaker. So Lux was pure single target damage, Silco is AoE damage. But Sorcerer's ability, it procs on takedowns. So when you take someone down, it kind of causes like a cascading effect because you kill one unit with Lux, then all the Sorc burns goes on someone else. You kill that unit, goes on someone else, etc, etc, etc. But Silco has an AoE ability. So it's hard to just like single target someone down because that's just not what he does, you know? But what Silco is good at is he's not as reliant on 6 Sorcerer as the old build is. So even though you still like having 6 Sorcerer, I feel like he's not as reliant on it because of the way his kit works. As we said before, he's not like a kill after kill after kill type of person. But he's still definitely a good unit. He just fits in a lot more builds in my opinion. For example, we're going to go into an Aphelios Bastion build with Silco, and those comps he really shines in as well. So blue buff is going to be great for him because you want him to cast a lot. Jeweled Gauntlet solid. The Adaptive Helm, that's what he has right now. That's one of the new items. It gives mana when you're in the backline, which is really nice. So he keeps casting and casting and casting. Or you could put on like a Morello Namicon if you want. but typically he's used in sort of like a stall comp fashion. That's why you're running so many tanks here, but maybe there are other builds that get kind of discovered later on. Next build up we have is Karma Reroll. Very similar to the Karma Reroll of the past, still very solid. It's one of the fan favorites in the comments section. I notice a lot of people always talk about Invoker and Karma Reroll, so it's here. Pretty much the same thing. You just replaced Lissandra with Milio, and that's pretty much the comp. We could skip that one for now because we kind of reviewed that before. Silco, Aphelios, Bastion. This is a comp I'm very excited to try because Silco is so good in stall comps, and this is a stall comp of the past, the Aphelios plus a Silco. But maybe now we don't even need Aphelios. Maybe now when you go for this, you go for Bastions, and then you just itemize whoever you hit. If you hit ability power items, play Silco. If you hit attack speed items, play Aphelios. So what you could do is go for rods on carousels, and then if you natural a bow and get a Gwynsu's Rageblade, go for Aphelios. If you get like a belt or a tier, you could go Archangels or Morellonomicon on Silco. So it makes the stall comp builds a lot more adaptive, which I think is really fun. Next up, you also have Jinx complementing both Zon and Gunner. So Aphelios is now a Gunner. That's one of the changes that they made. So Jinx fills like a very key role, kind of unlocking those two synergies. One of the newcomers to the comp is Nico. Nico is going to be one of the new Bastions replacing Maokai. So Nico is very solid. She's just kind of like a damage dealing Bastion. You don't really need her. It could be any Bastion here, but she is like a slight upgrade over the one cost that the Bastion comp had before. Next build up we have is Demacia. So Demacia is a little different. They again are changing their items constantly, whichever items they get, but they now get the same Radiant item for the rest of the game. So don't like play around expecting that like it'll change based on last set, because that's just not how it works anymore. So Fiora is going to be the main carry. BT Titan's going to be the same build on her, but obviously, as I said before, as long as you have a combination of like damage and healing, it's going to be fine for Fiora. Jarvan's going to be your main tank. You could complement it with a Shen if you get a lot of tank items. And then in the back line, Sona, Kayle, pretty decent. You could use Kayle in your early game and as like a late game insurance if you are able to hit level 9, which is pretty nice. Quinn is kind of like a support unit. She increases the damage dealt to people that are hit by her ability. So if you have extra items, you could put some like secondary carry items on her, though you'd rather itemize your Jarvan instead. But overall, pretty solid build. Fiora's just good right now in like most cases, but it really just depends on whether they buff her or nerf her that day. Now onto Naafiri Reroll. Naafiri, I like this comp a lot. I played it when it was weak, when it wasn't buffed yet, but I think they buffed it recently. But the reason why I like Naafiri so much is because it's a 2-cost reroll that has other 2 costs to kind of roll for. So the core of the comp is going to be Set, Warwick, and Naafiri. So Naafiri is a challenger, so Warwick gives challenger, and then Warwick's also a juggernaut, Set gives juggernaut. So you kind of have like a very base comp right there, and they're all 2 costs. So when you're rolling on level 6, you have like a lot to roll for, and you could easily 3-star all 3 of them, which is really nice. Then later on in the game, if you are able to make it there, you have other options to put in for secondary carries such as Azir. You have other tanks such as Nasus. You could put in stuff like Jarvan, and you can mix and match whatever synergies you want. In this version, it's got 4 Juggernaut, 4 Shurima, 2 Challenger, but you could easily put more points into Challenger and less in other stuff if you happen to hit those in that game. So lots of different options you could kind of do with this build, which makes it really nice, but it's just like a basic 2-cost reroll. I just realized I made a typo there, so that's fixed now. On to the next comp, we have Quinn Reroll. So this is going to be the last comp we're going to cover today. Quinn Reroll is going to be a Demacia and Slayer build, and Quinn actually does slap. One of my viewers played it in some of my viewer games when I was streaming, and I think he got like second like twice in a row with the Quinn build just by like hard forcing it, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, Quinn just revolves around Demacia and Slayer, obviously, because that's just what her traits are. So complemented with a Kayle, those are the same traits. Kayle's also a Slayer and Demacia. And then you play Fiora because she's OP. You play Jarvan's because he's OP. Add in a 5th Demacia and Sona, or get like a +1 Demacia, and then you don't even have to run Sona. And then you throw in some Slayers. So Mordekai's are going to be great for that, and obviously Aatrox is the legendary, so that's why Aatrox is there. But before you get Aatrox, you could play either Kiana or Rek'Sai to fill out the 4th Slayer slot. But oh yeah, I forgot to mention, they changed Slayer. It used to be a 2-3-4-5, it's now a 2-4-6, so do keep that in mind when you're playing the game. And also they changed Darken. I believe it doesn't revive Aatrox anymore, and it's also like a 1 and 2 instead of just a 1, Naafiri being the other Darken. But again, This is not a comprehensive list of all the comps on PBE. It's just stuff that I thought everyone should try. Honorable mentions to maybe multicaster at Misfortune or like a Bilgewater build. We'll probably add those later on. But let me know what types of comps you are playing on PBE. Let me know if you're going to be trying any of these comps. Let me know if you have already tried them and which ones are your favorite. But apart from that, that's going to be it for me today. I'm actually going to be going on vacation for like a week, so I probably won't see you all until the start of set 9.5 on the 13th. So that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and of course smash that like button. Each like is an LP I gain before the next video.